let's go over, that's not what I want to show. Here we go. Okay, this is our agenda for today. Learning goals, you will understand how geography affected settlement in North America. We're going to start our assignment today. We're going to be going over a PowerPoint that goes with it, and I would suggest as you work on the assignment that you refer back to this, and this is why I'm recording this. Review expectations with assignments. There's going to be a due date for this assignment, and you know, it's highly suggested that you turn it in on the due date. I'm going to have the due date on not tomorrow. My due date's going to be Monday, and I'll show you where that is. And then we're going to introduce the standard and begin the assignment. So that's kind of the goal here. All right. So you can't see the shared screen. Okay, let me get that fixed here. Okay, you should be able to see something that says 8.3.1 right now. Okay. So this is our first standard, and what it is basically we read maps to interpret symbols and determine the landforms and human features that represent physical and cultural characteristics of regions in the United States. In simpler terms, what that means is that we're going to see how geography affects where people live. And we're going to look at it first from a historical standpoint, okay? What I need you to do is, first of all, when you go to the course, please go to today's course and go to today's session, period 6, right here. And there's a document in there that I need you to please upload to Notability. And I'm going to give you a minute or so to do that, okay? So all you do is go to my homepage, go to today's date, click on the period 6 button. This would have taken you to the link. And what I need you to do is I need you to put this document in Notability, okay? And when you open it up, this is what it's going to look like, okay? Right here. So take a minute to put that into Notability, and then we'll transition to start talking about what we're going to use the assignment for, okay? Does everybody have that in Notability? All right. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using this document in completing this document using the data that we have in the PowerPoint. Okay, and I'm going to show you how to do that first. But one of the things that we would have done normally in the past in a classroom setting is I would have started this assignment by asking you to label or write down in a blank box on the right here. As many of those physical features that you know. Okay. So we're talking about the colonies 1 through 13, and then physical features A through I. Okay. And so this is something that we're going to be continuing to look at for a while here. Bryce, if you're just joining us, please go to today's assignment in Canvas, and then in today's date, and then there is an assignment there that I need you to put into Notability once you get started here, okay? All right, so let's talk about what this standard is and what the skills are that we're gonna look at here, okay? So level 1 thinking or level 2 thinking. This is basically recognizing colonies when you see them on a map. And this is a lower level skill. And in the past, this would be just simply, I see the map, I know that number 5 on the map is New York or whatever. Okay, we're not doing that this year because that's why we've already labeled them and numbered them accordingly for you, okay? Also, level 1 and level 2 thinking would mean when I see a physical feature on the map that's east of the Mississippi River, I can identify it. Like, for example, I can identify H as the Appalachian Mountains. I can identify I on the map as the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, we're not doing it in a broad sense with the entire map. We're just focusing on one singular part of the United States or one singular part of our map, because when we talk about settlements early on, we're not settled in California. We're not settled in Indiana completely. We're talking about the 13 colonies, okay? This is what we're going to be focusing on today. Classification. It's a level 3 skill. Okay, so we're going to classify the colonies into 3 different groups based on off their geographical characteristics. And you'll notice on your chart that you have here, if you go down to the second page, these are your categories that we're going to be categorizing these colonies as: growing season, soil, and landforms. Okay. Now, if you go to the very last page of this document, you'll see that we have maps, and I know that it's hard to see the headings at the top because we had to do a screenshot of these, but these are your 3 factors: soil, growing season, and landforms. And you'll notice that you have a key here on the map that tells you what each of these colors represent. We're going to be going through this together today, and then you're going to use the rest of the time that you have to finish the assignment, okay? So if you have questions, you need to interject and let me know, or you can send me a message, okay? Okay, so we need to talk about first what affects people that would be living in these colonial regions. We have to think of New York, which is 5, as a colony first and not a state. We need to think of Georgia, 13, as a colony and not a state, okay? These are all colonies. Why? Because when Europeans move from Europe to the Americas, whether it's Central America, South America, North America, they are living in territory that belongs to a country in Europe. So for example, if I was living in Pennsylvania, I was living in a British colony. A colony is an extension of that country, okay? So when Britain, which is this tiny island in the northern part of Europe, claims territory in North America here as theirs, these are their colonies. Georgia is a colony. South Carolina is a colony. Virginia is a colony. Okay, does that make sense? Okay, so when we develop these colonies, and we have 13 originally, people living here are going to have to do something to make money. They're not just bringing with them, thousands of dollars and be like, I can just live off this for the rest of my life, or millions of dollars, okay? They have to do something to make money when they get here, okay? And so one of the factors that we have to look at is, where are the good places to grow crops in this region? Where are the good places to farm? Farming at this time is a very common occupation, meaning a lot of people are farming. Okay, no one's opening a video game store. No one's blogging online. No one's making YouTube videos and making money off that. People are growing crops. Okay, so one of the things we need to notice here, and this goes back to a geography concept that you would have learned last year. The farther north you go, the cooler it's going to be overall. The farther south you go, the warmer it's going to be, because the farther south you go, you're getting closer to what? The equator. Okay, and you know all about the tilt and the axis, and you know that when the Earth spins and rotates, it tilts on an axis, and that's why it's warmest at the central part of the Earth, which is where the equator is, okay? So let's take a look and see what we have here. We have 4 variables on this map. The dark green tells us that the growing season is 3 to 5 months. That's short. That means 3 to 5 months out of the year, they can grow some kind of crop. The light green tells us it's 5 to 7 months. The yellow, 7 to 9 months, and the orange, 9 to 12 months. And notice what's happening on the map. The further south I go, the warmer it is because the longer the growing season. Look down here. This is Florida, and Florida right now, folks, is a Spanish territory. Okay? It's a Spanish territory. That means Spain owns this territory. All right? And so, but notice it's the warmest, so they can grow crops 9 out of 12 months out of the year. So what we need to do on our assignment here is we need to focus on, deciding in this first column. Okay, we need to decide, and I'm going to put this back up, but you also have this same map here on the bottom here. Okay, so let's take a look at the first one here. So we're looking at growing seasons. Okay, and the first one on the map is Connecticut. Well, Connecticut on this map is which number? Somebody chime in and tell me where Connecticut is on the map. You can go to the very top of the assignment to look if you need to.
Is it 3?
It is 3 right here. So that's Connecticut. And if you look at Connecticut, the entire colony looks to be this light green color. And that tells us 5 to 7 months is a medium growing season, because what we're doing here is we're using this variable here on the left, 1, 2, or 3. We're using this number system to identify their growing season. So basically, if a colony is going to be mostly all green, then what we're going to do is, can everybody see the shared screen now? Is everybody good? Sorry, Molly, I just saw your message. I'm hoping you can still see it. So if the colony is all dark green, which means 3 to 5 months, you're going to label that colony as having a short growing season. But we're going to start off with Connecticut. Connecticut is this light green, which is 5 to 7 months. What does this tell us? For each colony, write if the growing season is 1 short, 2 medium, or 3 long. So what are we going to write down in the box under growing season for Connecticut? What are we going to write?
Medium.
We're going to write medium. So you're going to write number 2. So in your assignment, right here, growing season Connecticut, this box, you're going to write a number 2. Okay? So we're going to go to the next one, which is Delaware. These are alphabetical. That's why I put them there. Okay? Alphabetical. So let's go back to the map. Okay? Delaware is number 8 on this map, which is really hard to see. But I will tell you that there's a little bit of green and a little bit of yellow there. So what I would do, just as a precaution, just as kind of a mix, is we're going to put a 2 down for Delaware. Okay? So for Delaware, we're going to put a 2. You can write 2 medium, or you can write the word medium. Okay? All right. What's the next one we have up?
Georgia.
Okay, so we have Georgia. Georgia's 13 on the map. Way down here at the bottom. Georgia's all yellow with a little bit of orange on the coast. So that tells us it's a long season, 7 to 12 months, because that's what the key on the map is telling us. So for Georgia, you're going to write down the letter 3. Or letter 3. Number 3. Goodness gracious. I'm a mess. Number 3. Okay? So let's go back to what we have next on our list. We have Maryland. Okay? Maryland is number 9. In Maryland, we have a little bit of yellow and a little bit of green. But I see a lot more yellow there than green. So that 7 to 9 months, that's going to fall under this area for me. So for Maryland, we're going to put a 3 down. Okay? All right. So I'm going to transition to the next slide so that we can get started on the next column, and we're going to come back if we have time, okay? And so what I would suggest you do on your paper, so I'm talking about right here. What I would suggest is this. I would suggest for soil or for growing season, I don't know why these are out of order. I apologize. Okay. Is you make a note, and you may even want a screenshot. That might not be a bad idea. So I'm going to put this back up. And I want you to screenshot this because you need to make sure you know what determines a short growing season, what determines a medium growing season, what determines a long growing season. So I would like you to screenshot that now so that later when you're finishing this up, you can remember that I have to determine if they have a little bit of yellow or a little bit of orange, it's a long growing season. So I put down a 3. All right. So go ahead and I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to do a screenshot of this screen that you see on your iPad. That way you have, that way you have this information that you need. Okay. This will also help you so you don't have to go back and rewatch the whole video later. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get you started into the familiarity of understanding how to view a map that's determining a way to classify these colonies by one of these 3 categories. So you're having to use the data on the map, classify the colonies into a specific, specific time frame, okay? Is there anybody that still needs to screenshot this because I'm going to move on to the next part. All right. Okay. Now, if you look at your assignment again, the next variable we have is soil. That means basically, is the soil good for farming or is it bad for farming or okay? All right. Not every place on earth has great soil for farming. Indiana's is pretty good. All right. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you drive down the road, you see cornfields, you see soybean fields. Many of you may be farmers, or maybe many of you know people who are farmers. Okay, so you understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're looking at soil next. And so just like last time, we have the same indicator. Whoops, it's not right. Sorry about that. I'm going to just fix that. Dee, will you help him? Sorry about that. All right, here's our next indicator. So let's take a look at what we have here. Okay, let's take a look here. So what we have here is this very similar map. Okay, we have soil going from least fertile, which is this kind of cream colored, brownish color up here, to moderately fertile, which is kind of in the middle, which is this kind of light green, to most fertile. If something is the most fertile, it's going to be the best place to grow crops. Okay, and notice that, for a lot of these, it's the southern part, but, southern part of these colonies, but also it tends to be more toward the coast, Atlantic Ocean. And one thing to note is that going right through this part of the colonies is the Appalachian Mountains. And that plays a big role in where we see good soil. Okay, so we're going to start out with Connecticut because I believe that's our first colony. Connecticut's number 3. We just determined our level 2 skill by identifying where it was. I don't know why this line's there. I apologize. So it looks all that brownish color to me. So we're going to identify this as the least fertile, okay? And so what we're going to do, I'm going to fix this right now. So I don't know why this is. There we go. So Connecticut, we're going to put down as 1. Bad for soil, bad soil, least fertile. Meaning, is it impossible to grow stuff in Connecticut? No. But is it likely that these people are going to be making a living just as farmers? No, no way. All right, so what's our next colony? Is it Delaware? Is that correct? Delaware? Okay, Delaware, it has some dark green on there. There's also a little bit of light green there. It's hard to see, very hard to see. So what I'm going to do is we're going to go ahead and put down a 2 for Delaware. We're going to put down a 2 for Delaware. Okay? And again, where are we here? We are right here in this column, the second column. We did not finish all the growing season column because I wanted to get you started, and you can go back and work on this later, okay? So again, what I want you to do here is I want you to take a screenshot of this image. That way you have this and you understand how to determine 1, 2, and 3. And I think you understand that. I know all of you are smart enough to realize that, but I want to make sure that we see this here, okay? So next is Georgia, right? Georgia we know is 13. There's a little bit of green here, but look at all this. Look at all of this right here. My determination would be that we would identify Georgia as being a 3, most fertile. And let's face it, we have to assume that people further in the South are probably going to be farmers, okay? Is everybody going to be a farmer? No, but most people are going to be farmers. All right? Let's do one more here. What comes after Georgia? What's next?
Maryland.
Maryland. Right here, number 9. A lot of dark green there. So what are we going to put for Maryland? We're going to put a 3. Most fertile. Good. Let's do one more for soil. What comes after Maryland? Is it Massachusetts?
Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay. So Massachusetts, physical feature that you can always identify for Massachusetts is that hook. Kind of looks like a hook right here. Right above it is Cape Cod. And some of you may have visited there. But 2, just like Connecticut, it's all this like cream color, like the brown color. And so what we're going to do is we're going to put down a 1 for Massachusetts. Okay. So is everybody getting the hang of this? You have to go back to remember what colony am I looking for? That's what the numbers are helping you with. I have to look at what the key is telling me. And then I have to make a determination. I'm classifying each colony in terms of their soil. All right. Let's go to the next colony, next column. So next is landforms. Okay. So let's take a look at that. Okay, landforms. All right, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to determine which is the best landform. So go ahead and take a screenshot of this. And I know you're looking at this and going, whoa, this has 5 different items on the map. Okay, go ahead and screenshot this. Okay, once you have that done, let's take a look at what we're looking at here. Landforms are the physical features on a map. Flat, hilly, mountainous, rocky. Piedmont is kind of like a low-lying area just east of the Appalachian Mountains. So let's take a look at here. We have 5 different color schemes here. Coastal plain, Why is it called coastal plain? Because it's on the coast, eastern coast of the Atlantic Ocean. Piedmont, just a little bit further inward or inland. Inland means you're going away from the ocean, okay? You have mountains, which is yellow. Well, this is basically where the Appalachians are going through. It's not perfect, but it's pretty much, the Appalachian Mountains are going through here, which is the major mountain range on the eastern part of the United States. You have Rocky Hills, which is this green area, some along the coast and some here, you know, farther inland. And if you've ever been to upstate New York, you know there are mountain ranges up there. You know it's a hilly area up there. And then you have the interior plains, which is this light green area that's almost along the Great Lakes here, okay? Plains are flat. Like if you think about it, if you've ever driven through Kansas, or if you've ever driven through Nebraska, it's like you're going on, like it's continuously like on a loop, because if you drive through Nebraska, it's just flat. Everything's flat. All right, that's a plain, okay? So let's go through our list again. We start with Connecticut. Connecticut's 3. I see a light green there. What does light green tell us? Rocky Hills. Now, this is where you have to be careful here, because each of these are grouped together. So mountainous means we're looking at either rocky hills or mountains. That means we're looking at the light green or the yellow. Okay. Mixed hilly means it could be mountains and hills with some Piedmont and coastal plain. I know that's 4 different factors there, and that's a lot. Okay. But mixed is going to be somewhere kind of in the middle. Like, for example, Pennsylvania 6, that's going to be a mix. You can go ahead and put that down for Pennsylvania. That's a 2. Well, look at it. You have rocky hills, you have mountains, you have coastal plains and Piedmont, all right there. That's a mix. So that's going to be a 2. Pennsylvania is a 2. All right. But what are we going to determine for Connecticut? What are we going to identify Connecticut as? Somebody tell me. What's Connecticut going to be? It's a light green here. Rocky Hills. So what does that tell us?
1.
Yeah, it's going to be a 1. It's going to be a 1 because this is a mountainous region. Okay. So if you'll notice on your sheet, Connecticut should have 1s across the board. That's going to be something that will come into a factor later in determining what we're doing here. Okay. It'll be important moving forward. All right, let's go next. What's after Connecticut? Is that Georgia? No, Delaware. Delaware. Okay, Delaware, number 8 here. It's really hard to see. There's a little bit of green there and a little bit of red there. This is a toss-up. It's really hard. What do you think? Should we do 2? I think a 2 would be most appropriate for Delaware. So what we're going to do for Delaware, which is number 8, is we're going to determine 2, mixed hilly. Okay. Now we have Georgia. Georgia's down here, number 13, according to our list. I see Piedmont. I see coastal plain. Piedmont and coastal plains, that's flat. So Georgia is going to be a 3. Okay. What's next? Help me out here. Is it Maryland? Is it Maryland? Is that yes? Confirmation? Whoops. I'm opening all kinds of stuff here. Maryland. Let's look at Maryland. Maryland's right here. I see kind of let's see, a little orange there, a little red there. So that's coastal Piedmont or coastal plain of Piedmont. So Maryland is going to be a 3.
2. 3.
I would say Maryland's a 3 because what I see there is a lot more of I see a lot more of the orange and red. Okay. Some of these, it's a judgment call because the map, what we're taking here is we're taking an outline map and we're basically putting it on top of the colored map. So the map that has color on it and the map with the outline are two different things that we put together, okay? After Maryland, we have Massachusetts. Massachusetts is up here. I see a little bit of yellow here in the western part because that's going through the Appalachians, and then I see some light green here. So if we go by what our key is, and we go by how we're going to label or classify, we have rocky hills or mountains, which what that would be. So what we're going to do for Massachusetts is we're going to put a 1. Okay? 1 for Massachusetts. We're going to do one more for this one. We're going to do New Hampshire. New Hampshire is one that we haven't done yet, but New Hampshire is number 1 on your list. Okay, so number 1 on the map is New Hampshire. You got a little bit of light green there, a little bit of yellow. Pretty
1.
similar to, yeah, it's going to be a 1, exactly. Very similar to what we see because we have mountains and we have rocky hills. And that should be a 1, okay? Now, you've gotten a feel for how to do this for each step. And remember, for each of these images, I hope that you did a screenshot, okay? If anybody did not, I can help you out at the end, okay? Let's go to the last column. What we're going to do is we're going to use our number indicators, and this is a good time to screenshot this as well. We're going to use our numbered indicators on the first 3 columns, which was growing season, soil, and landforms. And what we're going to do is we are going to determine, is this going to be a good place to farm? Is it going to be somewhere kind of in the middle? Or is this going to be a good place to farm? Okay. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to look at our column. So we're going to go to Connecticut. These 3 columns have already been filled in. Growing season was short, 1. Soil was poor, 1. Landform, rocky and mountains, 1. So if we go by what our indicator is telling us here, we have to determine if at least 2 out of 3 of the columns are bad for farming. And what would be bad for farming? A short growing season, rocky mountainous terrain, and poor soil. Any 2 out of those 3 means this is not going to be a good place to farm. So what are we putting down in the far right column under farming for Connecticut? What number? 1, 2, or 3?
1.
It's a 1.
1.
Yeah, absolutely. It has all the indicators that tells us that this is not a good place to farm. Short growing season, bad soil, bad landforms. Okay, that's a 1. All right, let's do the next one. Next one's Delaware. Well, Delaware, if I recall, growing season was in the middle, right? Soil was okay, landforms were kind of mixed. So what are we going to put for Delaware here?
A 2. 2.
Yep, 2 for Delaware. Delaware is not great, but it's not bad for farming. And let's just, again, let's look at what our map tells us here. Let's just go back to the beginning here. Delaware and Connecticut. Connecticut is 3, Delaware is 8. Connecticut is north of Delaware. So naturally, Connecticut is going to be cooler during more of the year than Delaware would be. Because honestly, where we are in Indiana, guys, it's cooler north of us most of the year. Think about it. Canada, northern parts of Michigan are going to get a lot more snow than we are usually. Why? Because the farther north you go, the colder it is. Okay? So let's do the next one. Excuse me. Let's do Georgia. What do we have across the board for Georgia? Long growing season, good soil, flat landforms. What do we write down in this column for farming
3.
for Georgia? Yeah,
3.
absolutely. Georgia is about as good as it gets for farming. Okay? It's about as good as it gets for farming. Okay? Let's do Maryland. What did we put for Maryland? Growing season, soil, landforms. Look at your indicators. Look at what this is telling us. What are we going to put down for Maryland? Far right column.
3.
Yes, it's a 3. Okay, it's a 3. 2 out of 3 indicators tells us it's a good place for farming. So we should have a 3 here for Georgia, or for Maryland, I'm sorry. Let's do Massachusetts. 1 growing season, 1 for poor soil, 1 for rocky landform. So what's farming going to be like in Massachusetts?
1.
Yep.
1.
It's going to be it's going to be a 1. Okay. So what you are going to do is you're going to use the maps, the screenshot maps, and you can also use these at the bottom, although these are not going to give you the indicators of like what's a 1, what's a 2, what's a 3. And you're going to work on filling in the rest of this chart right here. And what you're going to do once you have this chart filled out is you're going to look at what this right column is telling you, 1, 2, or 3. And what you're going to do is you are going to list all the colonies that are poor for farming. So Connecticut, we've determined is poor for farming. You would write Connecticut here, okay? Maryland, we've determined is what? What did we determine for Maryland?
Okay.
It's okay. So you're going to put Maryland here, okay? And what did we determine for Georgia? It's pretty good. So you're going to put good there. Yep. That's what you're going to be doing between now and when we meet on Tuesday. Okay? I'm going to have a quick check-in for you to do on Monday. And what we're going to do on Tuesday is we're going to come back together. We're going to review all this together. We're going to talk about the big picture of what this all means, and we're going to begin to classify. We're going to begin to classify the colonies into groups. Okay? So